A warm and gusty day today gives way to a cold front and chilly mornings. Who could wake up to lows in the 30s and our next warm-up bringing near record highs?
Then, Wendell's Board of Commissioners meeting right now to discuss their plans for data center development. So let's dig a little deeper into the decision in Wendell and cities, counties, and states across the country.
Murph, what's wrong? Everything okay?
Have you seen these first two rounds? I don't know what to expect anymore.
You talking about the tournament or Hubert Davis?
I guess both.
We're going to talk about the Sweet 16 and the future of basketball at UNC tonight on Murph's Turf. It's going to be okay.
And thanks for joining us here at 7. Tonight, we ask a local aviation expert about the plane crash in New York. Murph gives us the 411 on the Sweet 16. And Wendell says no thank you to data centers.
It is a busy day, a busy start to the week here at 7 o'clock on WRAL. We want to hear from you. There is our email address on screen, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. Let us know your thoughts. Weigh in on anything that you see in this newscast. Any questions you have, comments, concerns, critiques. We want it all. We want you to be part of this newscast, and we'll share some of your feedback toward the end of the show. We want to start, though, with the data center discussion in Wake County. So right now, Wendell is meeting to consider a moratorium on new data center projects.
But look at all the other locations. Chatham County passed one. Apex, Orange County, and Cumberland County are also working on a potential moratorium as well. It's been a heated conversation in our viewing area.
WRAL's Ali Cadlabar shows us how Wendell plays, into this statewide discussion.
A data center may look like a typical facility from the outside, but to counties, towns, and people, it's uncharted territory.
A lot of things that we didn't know or understand and still don't.
Apex Mayor Jacques Gilbert says it's one of the towns taking a deeper dive into the facilities. This map shows the counties and towns we know of that have been discussing data centers over the past 2 months. They are focusing on preventing data center development plans for a year. The ones in yellow have not approved the proposal yet. Chatham County, in green, has approved the 1-year moratorium, or pause, on data centers.
Wendell is now on the map discussing a similar proposal, and town leaders say there's no plans in the works right now for a data center, but it's trying to get ahead of it.
1-year moratorium is something that we would use to pause any type of proposals in our town until we can do more research.
Researching data centers' water and electricity usage and its effects on residents' pockets.
I want the town as well as the county commissioners to make informed decisions.
Sarav Arunachalam lives in Apex and is a member of Protect Wake County.
This level of pause is good only so that everybody can be well informed.
A Wake County Commissioners Committee also brought up data centers this afternoon. They talked about being a guide for towns like Wendell.
1 year sounds like a long time, but it may not be a long time when it comes to something so I would say sensitive and impactful in our community.
Wendell Board of Commissioners is set to meet at 7 p.m. Reporting in Wendell, Ali Cadlabar, WRAL News.
All right, so another area thinking about all this. Thank you to Ali. Her report takes us to a follow-up question that we received about data centers. Lots of you have been emailing 7 p.m. at WRAL.com, like Larry, who said, please present both positive and negative impacts of data center construction. And DJ asked something similar. With all the costs associated with data centers, what is the benefit of having one of those in your neighborhood? So thank you to DJ and Larry for writing in and for all the smart questions that we get from the viewers at home. So let's answer that question, and let's quickly talk about the benefits of data centers. Just about every article we found on the subject mentions Loudoun County in Virginia. So in 2020, that county collected $400 million in tax revenue from data centers. That county. This year, they're projected to generate over $1 billion. It's a lot of money. Data centers there provide more than 12,000 jobs. Now, it's worth noting Loudoun County has been in the data center game now since 2010, but other parts of the country are catching up. Arizona, for example, they are now number 2 in the country. In the next few years, they're expected to grow their data center footprint by 500%. And this is because of the state's affordable land, reliable energy, and low tax policies. Ohio, they are trying to catch up too. Just last week, SoftBank, that's a Japanese company, they announced plans to build a $33 billion data center development in Columbus, complete with its own power plant. That's expected to create about 2,500 jobs. The U.S. Secretary of Energy said, quote, if it was done today, it would be larger than all of the other data centers in the world combined. All of these projects have faced similar opposition to what we are seeing in our area, concerns about power bills, water, traffic, and noise. Now, we have gone in depth on the concerns around power bills and data centers. We have that full segment right now for you. If you'd like to check it out, I recommend you do if this is something you're interested in. It's on the WRAL YouTube page. You should give it a look, especially before you have any opinions on this sort of thing. Send us an email about this topic, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. This is not going away. These moratoriums, even if they go into place, it is just a pause. Right? This conversation is going to come back up, but we've only scratched the surface on the benefits of data centers, jobs, tax revenue, etc. There are a lot. What else should we take a look at? Tell us what's on your mind, and we'll talk about it here at 7 o'clock.
Let's get to a story happening right now at 7 o'clock. A shooting reported on Wake Forest Highway in Durham. Brian, you've been monitoring this from the Live Center. What's the latest here?
Sky 5 over at the scene right now, and you can see where they've zoomed in here, and there appears to be a hole in the driver's side door of this vehicle, and this appears to be the center of this large investigation. This is all happening at a Carly C's grocery store in a shopping center on Wake Forest Highway, or Highway 98, near the intersection of Mineral Springs Road on the east side of Durham. You can see all of the deputies that are there on the scene and also the crime scene tape up there at Carly C's. According to Broadcastify radio traffic, this came in as a report of a shooting, and at this point that is all we know. We're going to get more details about this. We're going to update this through the evening on WRAL.com and the WRAL News app and on WRAL News Plus, and of course complete coverage on our news tonight at 10 and 11.
Thank you, Brian. So the first two rounds of the NCAA men's tournament are complete, and Duke is now the only team from North Carolina still standing. But there are still plenty of storylines to discuss. UNC coach Hubert Davis is on the hot seat. And while High Point did get that upset early on, their victory still fits right in line with the trend of big money getting big wins. To talk things tournament, I took a trip to Murph's Turf. Murph, how's your bracket doing, bud?
Terrible.
Really? That's shocking.
Awful.
I thought you were a sports guy, but listen, prove your expertise here. We got some questions about the tournament. Duke, they're still making a run, last ACC team in this. But before we get to that, let's talk about UNC and their departure. Second time losing in the first round. Hubert Davis is on the hot seat. The question is, how hot is that seat right now?
Last time we were here, we talked in emojis. Well, this is the flame emoji. His seat is on fire. UNC discussing right now whether or not to bring Hubert Davis back as head coach, or perhaps for the first time in more than 70 years, look outside the family for a new head coach.
The people who want him gone say, look, UNC's here to win national championships, not get into the tournament, certainly not lose in the first round. The people who love him say, you know, he played here, he coached under a great coach here, and look at what he's up against. He lost his best player. UNC is focusing on football. Any of those arguments hold water, you think?
You can make arguments in both directions. I think the Caleb Wilson injury certainly plays in the keep Hubert camp, but in 5 years, they've either missed the tournament or not advanced out of the first round 3 times. Only once have they been seeded higher than a 6 seed. That's just not historical standards of North Carolina basketball. And at a time where these rosters cost a lot of money, how can you generate that money for a coach that's proven he can't quite get there?
They canceled his live radio show also.
His live radio show has been postponed.
Postponed?
I think that is a sign that this decision may be headed in the opposite direction.
Let's talk about Duke now. They have not looked as invincible as people thought coming into the tournament.
Yeah, and look at these brackets. Everybody picked Duke to win it all, and through 2 rounds, they've been a little bit on edge. You know, they almost lost to Siena in the first round, and their path is just still brutal. They've got to play St. John's in the Sweet 16. In order to reach the Final Four, they'll have to either beat Michigan State or UConn. So I think part of the vulnerability is that Cameron Boozer, who's been so terrific for them all year, the likely National Player of the Year, hasn't quite been as dominant, and they don't have a ton of depth. So you combine those two things together, you're going to get closer games. Still, John Shire's pushed all the right buttons, and I wouldn't bet against the Blue Devils.
They're getting wins. One thing that I think is interesting has been this discussion around the future of the bracket in general, and that the NIL money out there is going to make the number 1, 2, and 3 seeds so dominant over everybody else that you're never going to see any upsets. And then you bring in a deep seed like High Point here in North Carolina that gets that big upset, except there's a little asterisk there because they have big-time money at that school.
Yes, High Point has probably the highest NIL in their league, and so thus they're able to compete at a higher level. Think about it. They were able to charter a flight and fly 200 students out to Portland, Oregon for their second round game. That's not happening at a lot of schools across the country. So High Point does have a lot of money. I think another thing contributing to the lack of upsets is conference realignment. A lot of teams have moved up, and so those conferences that used to be really good at basketball and be able to produce teams that were capable of these early round upsets, well, they've moved up to another league. So even though they're still getting an automatic berth, the teams that are getting those automatic berths are not as good.
Money still talks, I guess. Shocking. Thanks, Murph.
Thank you.
You know, I should say we're also still in the office bracket pool here at
Yeah.
WRAL. Gerald and I, we're doing great.
You guys
Murph,
are doing well.
not to rub it in, Murph. Not so much for Murph. We're going to talk about the results in tonight's One Last Thing.
There were some surprises there. But hey, after the break, we bring in a local aviation attorney to talk about the Air Canada plane crash in New York. We're going to be asking him about aviation safety and how the DHS shutdown might be connected to all of this. Kat?
High temperatures reached the 80s today. We even had a record high in Fayetteville. Tonight, we'll be in the 30s in the Triangle. I'll let you know how long this cool down will last before more records could return coming up.
But first, let's take a look at some of the news stories we're keeping an eye on this week. Tomorrow is the next step in the Berger-Page race. Guilford and Rockingham counties are expected to begin their partial hand recounts. Page still leads Berger by 23 votes. On Wednesday, the U.S. House will meet about the DHS shutdown. This is that funding lapse that's led to long lines at airports nationwide because TSA agents are not being paid. We expect to get new data on how many TSA agents are affected.
And on Friday, the Duke men and Duke women, as well as the UNC women, all play in the Sweet 16 of their respective brackets there for the basketball tournament, and we'll be cheering them on. We're back here in about 2 minutes. Let's talk about tonight on WRAL. For the first time, we're going to be hearing directly from TSA agents at RDU. They have gone now weeks without pay during this partial government shutdown, and one agent is warning about a, quote, breaking point. That is tonight on WRAL News at 11.
The NTSB says it will look into the plane, air traffic control, and airport operations after a plane hit a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport late last night. The pilot and co-pilot died in the crash. 41 people went to the hospital with injuries. 32 of them have since been released. Officials say the fire truck was responding to an unrelated report of an odor on a United flight. Flights have since resumed at the airport. It's worth noting this took place while many air traffic control crews are understaffed. TSA is going without pay. Here's what Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said about that during a news conference this afternoon.
This airport has a target of 37 controllers at LaGuardia. We have 33 controllers employed, certified at LaGuardia. And we have seven that are in training. So as our airports go, LaGuardia is a very well-staffed airport.
Joining us now live is local aviation attorney and retired Army aviator, also a frequent contributor to WRAL, James Krause. We know, Jim, that there has been a staffing shortage across the country with air traffic controllers. There are people who are seeing this and wondering what could have been prevented if there were more eyes on the runway and ramps.
Well, it's not only the number of people who are staffed and assigned to an airport, it's the quality of their training. And over the past years, I've handled several matters where it led me to believe that air traffic control staffing and the quality of air traffic control isn't what it should be. In this case, apparently they were operating under reduced staffing because they didn't think they were going to be busy. Then I heard a report that they were busier than they thought they were going to be. So there are many questions about what was the workload on this controller? What was he handling ground control? Was he handling aircraft landing on the runway? Lots of questions about air traffic control, because at the end of this is an air traffic control airport ground control accident that never should have happened.
Yeah, you hear in air traffic control radio traffic from this incident someone saying, I messed up. I mean, we're hearing that the day after this happened. As someone who has investigated hundreds of aviation incidents, what are you questioning about how this could have happened?
These things don't happen unless something goes terribly wrong. The question I have is, if this was a controller on duty that had cleared the airplane to land, why did he also at the same time approve the fire truck crossing an active runway? This just doesn't happen. There's also questions as to whether communications were garbled, whether the fire truck could hear everything the air traffic controller or the ground controller at this point was telling him. Clearly, the airliner had been cleared to land. There's no indication that he could have stopped or could have gone around. So this was all on the fact that they let a ground vehicle go onto an active runway at the same time that an airplane was landing. It's just unthinkable that this could happen.
Jim, what does this say about air traffic safety, especially with so many people going away for spring break? This is, of course, going to be on the top of mind for a lot of people.
Well, not to give you a history lesson, but I'll do it quickly. Remember, Reagan fired the air traffic controllers a long time ago, but you don't destroy the entire structure of an organization and lose all that expertise, and you lose the people that could have trained the new controllers coming on, and then the next level of controllers coming on. So it's air traffic control has been going downhill for years, and now they're trying to implement new air traffic control systems. The technology is improving. Meanwhile, they're low on staffing, and I think their training isn't what it used to be, according to several air traffic control guys that I use as experts all the time. They're not doing a lot of one-on-one, person-to-person training. They're putting them in a room with a computer and saying, watch this program and sign off that you've done it. So I think it's still a very safe system, and I wouldn't want to be an alarmist and tell the flying public not to do what they want to do. I mean, I'd get on an airplane tomorrow, but we got to look at the whole system and see what's going on personnel-wise, politically, et cetera. This is no way to conduct the national airspace of the United States.
Yeah. Jim Crouse, appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you.
You're welcome.
On a lot of people's minds tonight, certainly. As we turn to Kat Campbell, and before we get to the forecast, Kat, an email that came in from a viewer talking about pollen at 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. This is Carla spoofing Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix, writing, "Yellow haze up in the sky, escape for none, so don't you even try." And I mean,
like
it's very true. Also, it rings true. I went to the car wash the other day, and by the time I was done doing the interior of the car, I thought about pulling it through again because it was covered in that yellow haze in a matter of minutes.
I mean, we're just not going to escape it. And we don't have any rain until the very end of the week. So this is just going to compound, especially because of the wind out there today. That's really taking it off the tree and putting it into the air. Great. But, you know, one of the things to note, it's been the warmest March to date on record. We're probably going to see our peak of pollen season a little bit earlier this year than we normally would. The normal time for that is the end of March and early April, the last week of March, first week of April. This year, it's probably going to come either at the end of this week or next week. So, you know, just a heads up, then we still have some time before things wind down, usually the end of April, early May. And pine pollen is at its worst for about 3 weeks. We're running nearly 9 degrees above normal. We've had 3 records so far for the month of March. We could have a 4th on Friday. 86 is what we are forecasting. The record high is 87 at RDU, as well as in Fayetteville. A cold front passed earlier today. The wind has been picking up ever since that front arrives, and the wind is also changing directions. It's now out of the north, and that's going to be pushing in some cooler air temporarily for the middle of the week. A live look at the sunset over Lake Gaston. Absolutely stunning out there. You can see the water is quite choppy, though, with the wind out of the north around 15 miles per hour. Cooler air is working its way in tonight, but the pollen count is still likely to stay high, and we'll get the official number around 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Today's count, about 1,500. That's the highest so far this season. The usual peak is over 2,000. All-time record, 2024, when we had over 5,000. 1,000. Tree pollen, of course, pine's number one, but birch, oak, those are some of the other issues out there today. Tomorrow will be a cooler day, 57 for the high. We drop down into the 30s both tonight and tomorrow night. Make sure that you've got the extra layer on hand. It'll definitely feel different when you step outside tomorrow. 66 by Wednesday afternoon. We're transitioning back to some warmer weather. Friday, our best chance for rain will come at night, perhaps a few thunderstorms, and then a bit of a cool down behind it for the weekend.
Thanks, Kat.
One last thing. Is your bracket busted yet? We're going to check on the WRAL office pool, see how people are doing.
I'm impressed with yours.
So am I. Lucky guesses, I guess.
All right, one last thing for you. How is your bracket doing? Because mine's toast.
Not good?
No.
Mine is kind of awesome. I'm tied for second place right now in the WRAL bracket pool. The results so far, Pat Welter, the top of the leaderboard. That picture makes me look like I have a goatee. So it's like the clean-shaven guy, then a little goatee guy, and then the mustache of all mustaches on the right. So Gerald and I, we're tied for second. I kind of feel like I have better prospects since 4 of my final 4 teams are still alive. So this could happen for me.
Okay.
This could be my year.
Maybe it's your year. I'm rooting for you, Dan, because I'm not on the leaderboard anymore. However, I'm very proud of this one. I did nail an upset pick. You, Megan Clordy, and I were the only ones to pick Tennessee to make it to the Sweet 16. Megan on a roll with these upsets. She and the Shrades man were the only ones to pick Iowa over Florida.
We're so smart.
So smart. Good night.